welcome back to the channel. This is Thomas Goes Nostalgic, and on this episode, we're going to be building a disco diorama for our Dazzler Marvel Legend. So on previous episodes, I mentioned that I was on vacation, and I went to a music festival called Electric Forest. Now, Electric Forest is a music festival in Rockbury, Michigan, and has been postponed since 2020 due to the pandemic. And 2022 would be our first year returning to the forest, and it's always great to be back in such an amazing place with the people we love. There was lots of dance music, art installations, and, of course, lots of disco. One of my favorite things about music festivals is you can kind of dress however you want, so I usually like to theme an outfit after things that I enjoy. Naturally, doing a Dazzler-themed outfit was perfect for the event. My friend even decided to join me on that themed day, and this is what drove my inspiration for my disco diorama. So who is Dazzler? She was created in 1980, right about the time of the end of the disco era. Marvel Comics and Casablanca Records wanted to create a character that would tie in a new recording artist, album, and eventually a full-length movie. Originally, Dazzler was supposed to resemble the supermodel, singer, actress Grace Jones, but eventually was decided that Bo Derek would portray Dazzler in an upcoming film, so Dazzler's design was then based off of her look. Bo Derek's husband John Derek was set to direct the film. Supposedly, the original concept had Dazzler facing off against the members of KISS and also featuring appearances from the Village People. This wacky concept never came a reality due to John Derek having some box office flops, but the character has continued to appear in Marvel Comics since and has only made a small appearance in Dark Phoenix, one, if the only redeeming parts of that film in my opinion. Created by Marvel Legends Tom DeFalco and John Romita Jr., Dazzler made her first appearance in the Uncanny X-Men number 130 in 1980. Alison Blair followed in her mother's footsteps while pursuing a career in music. During a performance at a school dance, Alison first realizes her power when she releases a large blast of light during her performance. After discovering her mutant ability, Dazzler decided to use her powers to enhance her performance while trying to break into the music industry. Taking the stage name Dazzler, she can absorb large amounts of sound and energy and release it into blasts of light. When discovered by the X-Men, she was offered a spot on the team, but ultimately turned it down to pursue a career in music. She would hide the fact that she was a mutant, but occasionally would assist the X-Men, Spider-Man, and the Avengers. She has even been part of the all-women's Avenger team, A-Force, alongside She-Hulk, Captain Marvel, Medusa, and Nico Minoru. Fashioned in white spandex, disco ball necklace, roller skates, and signature face paint, Dazzler has also had some epic battles with major Marvel villains such as Ulysses Claw, Enchantress, and was even a Herald of Galactus. She shared a romance with X-Men's Beast and later on would be married to Longshot. Longshot would at some point be cloned, creating Shatterstar, who more or less is technically Dazzler's son. We are getting a new iteration of Dazzler in the Mojoverse 4-pack, although she won't be wearing her disco attire, but rather the blue jumpsuit designed for her by Professor X. And now that we've gotten a brief history of who Dazzler is, let's take a look at this figure. Now, this Marvel Legend is a couple of years old. It came with the Build-A-Figure wave from the Warlock series. I love the style of this figure. There's so much personality on it. I love her disco outfit. Her roller skates are really cool. She comes with that multicolored effect. She comes with a microphone and a disco ball necklace. And one of my favorite things about this character is her face paint. So lots of personality, and I thought it was only best to make a diorama for her, and what better place to make than a disco. So let's go ahead and check it out. First, we are going to start with our foam. I cut it to fit an IKEA DTOF, but I made it a little shorter just to give myself some wiggle room. That piece of plastic is a fluorescent light bulb cover. Went to Home Depot and found some broken pieces. I asked them if they let me buy for a discount, but they just let me buy it. I wanted that design and texture for when I put lights behind it so it would glow behind the figure. I found these lights at Five Below. They were cheap and just what I needed. Those light towers look great as stage lighting, and the light box below will shine up toward the disco ball. Next up, I found this material at Hobby Lobby and it caught my eye. This reminds me of old clubs or bars, how they have that in the ceiling, and I wanted to create that look. I will use some thin pieces of foam to act as border around it, and I found a decorative wooden piece that will be the molding for the disco ball. Now working on the floor, I wish I knew a way to create a bottom-lit dance floor, but I haven't dove that deep into electronics yet, so maybe in the future I can upgrade, but for now, I'll be hand painting the tiles. I'm measuring the tiles 1 inch by 1 inch, and they will all get painted a different color at random. I cut a hole in the back wall. I will use that plastic panel as a light filter and then make a slip on the back so I can play a visualizer video on an iPad to make it glow from behind. The pattern on the panel will give me that 70s glow effect I'm trying to emulate. Coloring the tile took multiple coats. I could have primed with white, which would have made things easier, but I really wanted the black lines to be prominent. Next, I printed off a picture of Dazzler that is actually on a building mural in Atlanta, Georgia. Another cool piece of Dazzler history and pop culture that I wanted to include. I'm definitely not a painter, but I really want to try and paint my own design based on this and test my skills of painting a character. To not completely freehand this, I used an X-Acto knife to cut out sections so I can trace them and at least get the proportions right, even if my painting doesn't look exact. I started priming and outlining my exterior wall that I am basing off of the Atlanta mural. I traced the outline of Dazzler and primed it with white because I didn't want to have to do too many extra coats like I had to do with the tile floor. I keep layering on pieces of the character's outline, color the hair, skin, and face paint, and now it'll be easier to put in some of the details. I used the black paint marker to get some of the finer details that would have been hard with a paintbrush. I went over the Dazzler mural one more time, adding some contrasting colors to the face paint and dry brushing to the color patterns above. I found this really cool glass tile strip, perfect for turning anything into a disco ball. I'll be using this throughout the project in different areas, just having another piece of this that will reflect light. I thought it would be cool to make a logo sign for Dazzler, so I'm tracing a logo I printed and going to cut a base, then the letters separately. I'm using a 1/2 inch piece of foam and slicing it in half, so it'll be easy to cut the letters separately. It will get a base coat of blue, then I will glitter up the letters. The stage was pretty simple. I just need to make sure it fits the light in between. I originally had the stage at 4 inches, but cut it back to give more room on the dance floor for some more figures. I'm going to dry brush it with some white, and then the ceiling I will dry brush with a bronze acrylic that I found to give it that real old dance hall vibe. For the interiors, I was really trying to get the effect of the 70s, 80s light trail that you normally see in those old-time music videos. The only thing I could compare it to is the opening sequence of Superbad, but I basically cut out a stencil of Dazzler and blotted paintbrush along the edges with 3 different colors. I love how that turned out, figured it always goes well with her power set because she absorbs light, and the painting reminds me of some light trails. So after the interior walls were done, I still had one blank wall on the other side. I didn't want to have a blank wall, so I decided to make a mural based on Dazzler's power. As you see in the comics, she sometimes has those floating orbs around her. And folks, that does it for this Dazzler Disco Diorama. This was one of my favorite projects to work on. It really wasn't about a lot of sculpting. I did some brickwork, which I'm used to, but it was just more about capturing the essence of who Dazzler is, and I hope I did that. Really had lots of fun with this one, working with the electronics and the different paint styles. Painting a mural was kind of difficult for me, but I loved taking a shot at it. And then trying to fit in these electronics with the diorama was really fun. So I had a great time. I hope you had a great time watching and may have learned something. If you like this content, hit like, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you get notifications of when I post my next episode. Until then, we'll catch you next time.